All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. So thank you very much for joining us this evening for our December, which is our November general meeting happening here on December 1st at the Snaihne Recreation Center. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have the acceptance of the agenda, rules of order, follow-up from the October 27th general meeting. We have an update presentation on the fiber to the home and the Rogers Tower. Presentation update on Dundee settlement. Presentation update from Department of Health on the COVID-19 and the RSV virus as well. We're going to provide an update on a food drive and turkey and ham giveaway that we have scheduled. We'll take business from the floor. We have a resolution that we have to need for the record. We'll make an announcement and adjournment for our meeting. So that's the rules of order, or sorry, that's the agenda for this evening's general meeting. If I could have a mover to accept. Moved by Edward, second by Sarah, all in favor? All right, it's carried. Thank you very much. So we have a number of members of council who are either away on travel or out sick, not able to make it this evening. Chief Vanessa Adams, Chief Cindy Francis Mitchell, Chief Dwayne Thomas, and Chief Tim Thompson are sending their regrets for this evening. So as always, we'd like to observe a moment of silence for members of our community who we've lost since the last general meeting that took place in October. So if we could take a moment to recognize and remember those members that we've lost in a moment of silence, that'd be appreciated. All right, thank you very much. And on behalf of myself and our council, I extend our deepest condolences to all those affected by loss over the last several weeks and months. So for our rules of order this evening, again, this is our December 1st general meeting here being hosted at the Snaihne Recreation. Thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. Our meeting starts at approximately 6 p.m. and goes to about 8 p.m., at which time at 8 p.m. we will see where we are on the agenda and either determine that we'll go a little bit further or items will be deferred to next month's general meeting. Personal issues will not be dealt with in this forum. This is a public forum. We do have this recorded and available on Zoom as well this evening. So there are some members of the community who are using Zoom to participate or listen in on this meeting. Personal issues that you want to discuss with ourselves, member of council, please, we can do that one-on-one. We can either do it after the meeting or make an appointment to do that at a later date to discuss those issues, not in this forum though. We ask that you please raise your hand when you have a question. I will make a list of people who are looking to either make statements, ask questions, and I will call upon you and ask you to ask your question then. As well, we ask that you keep the questions relevant to the presentation. There is time at the end of the agenda, which is business from the floor, to speak about or discuss other issues abroad that the community would like to speak with council about. But otherwise, we ask that you please remain your questions remain on point of what the discussion topic is and the discussion we're having, whether it be in a presentation. So items that we're not able to address or answer at this meeting, what we'll do is we'll make a list of items as a follow-up action item for the next community meeting, and we'll report that back. And that goes into the record as well as action items. Those are items that we're not able to address tonight. Either we don't have the information or we have to do something in order to action the request or what have you. Those go into the record as action items. So this is the rules of order for tonight. We ask that everyone please remain respectful here in the recreation center. Also, those people online to please remain respectful towards other community members, towards presenters, and towards council. If for whatever reason people do not respect that, we will either shut the meeting down or, in the case of being in Zoom, may mute them or remove them from the meeting. It's just we ask that everybody respect one another. We are all here as a community for the betterment of our community, and disrespect and negative demeanors is not going to be tolerated. So that's the rules of order for this evening's general meeting. I will go to the action items that were from the last general meeting of October 27th. And so those are in your packages as well. So those of you that came in, the packages are available at the door. Again, the masks, you are required to wear a mask when standing. If you are sitting down, you don't have to, you can remove your mask at that time. It is optional to you, but we ask that when you stand up and move about the facility that you please wear a mask. And this is the part of the mask mandate to keep all of us safe. So the action item that we have is why aren't the handicap doors or elevators working at the arena? So that was a follow-up item. I'll turn to Chief April Adams Phillips for that response.
Good evening, everyone. The elevator did not pass health and safety inspection, and the cost to repair is estimated at $6,800 minimum. And they're currently looking for funding for updating
Okay, thank you. So one of the questions raised was why is the elevator not working at the Nolago Arena? And that is the response. We are continuing to look for other funding sources to support that. The other follow-up item is why is the arena concession closed? So I'll look to the economic development portfolio. Have a member respond.
Regarding the concession?
Yes.
Okay, after they did a review of their cost expenditures in the arena, what they found was the concession was costing them money and contributing to more of the deficit than will generate revenue, which is why they looked at closing it down. And then when they had some of the and the 150 money, they redid the back of the arena where there's a concession on the second floor, and they put it for rent for any events that take place for local organizations that are fundraising. So that they felt it was better to put it back there where they were at better kitchen facility and a serving part on the second floor. So that was the reason behind that.
Okay, thank you for that, Edward. That was the two action items that we had as follow-up from the October 27th general meeting. And those of you that are online, Edward gave an explanation about the budget, about the renovations that had been done previously. And the concession is available, right, for rent at the bottom, the downstairs part. Okay, so the first presentation or action, or sorry, update is the presentation update on the fiber to the home project and the Rogers Tower. So there is some information in your packages. I'll turn it to Edward. Are you going to speak to this item? Go ahead.
Okay, so as everyone's aware, the project started during COVID, and so originally there was a scheduled date for the fiber to be active, which was supposed to be, I think, September of this year for the Quebec portion. But there was some delays due to unforeseen circumstances with road construction in Benavide. And so during that time, the fiber to the home crew had to remove some of the conduit during that upgrade of the water and sewer lines. So it was all within the same proximity, same easement. So that put a delay in the project. So
Can you just give me a second? Shake that microphone for a second. Trying to get the static out of it.
Sorry about that. It's crackling again.
okay.
Okay, no, go ahead.
What?
Yeah.
So during that time, they continued construction on Snaihne. Today, the conduit have been built back in the ground, not the road, prior to reload it back to the conduit that they did. So the canonical section of fire that had begun. Or going over, 85% of the backbone is complete, which is the underground.
This is not working. It's not working. So ditch the mic. There we go.
All right. Can't hear me, just holler. So on Gawanoga, 85% of the backbone has been complete. Okay, and that is basically the underground conduit. 60% of the cabinets and vaults are installed, and what you see in all three districts, when we mentioned cabinets and vaults, it's those boxes you see on the side of the road where a lot of the conduits had met and joined, is where those cabinets were identified and located. Some areas you'll see ground level where it was buried and it's just a ground level cover. It's the same thing. And so fiber splicing has also begun on Gawanoga. For Snaihne, if I can have everyone look at the screen, and on there, this is a representation of where the status is with Snaihne. So in the areas of green, you're going to see 90 to 100% completed of the fiber in those portions of the district of Snaihne. And the blue area is in progress, where they're still looking to complete, expected in 1 to 3 weeks. And so in addition to that, a lot of the houses is what's taking place right now. They're doing connections from those vaults. They're going to people's homes and they're making those, they're starting to run those lines now. So at that part, I'm guesstimating is the part where they're saying that's going to be, that part may be done in 1 to 3 weeks, what they're doing now. So at the same time, a majority of the fiber has already been ran. A lot of the splices that had to be done were being at the cabinet vaults. Majority of them have been spliced together. And so that's where currently the district of the Snaihne is at. The reason it didn't get lit up was based on Ganadago, but also there's some equipment that's going to be used to test every line for every home to ensure the splices that were made are clean, is a clean connection, because it's light that's being sent for your internet connection. So they have to test those. So there's certain equipment that they've been waiting on, and this again is due to with COVID and the supply delays in getting the equipment here. But they're looking at new timeframes when that's going to be done. And so we'll keep these updated as that progresses. But majority of the work in Snaihne is as it's presented tonight. Got questions?
Yeah, just for a clarification, you said 85% is complete in Snaihne, so that's just the fiber running from box to box,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So currently they're
What
working.
you're thinking in the next 3 weeks, they're gonna complete to the houses or fiber splicing?
Fiber splicing, a majority is done. And the ones they started to the homes, so some house connections have already been done. And that's what they're kind of working on now, is doing the connections to the houses. That's the work that's underway. But there's still majority of the main work being done in Sugarbush. They're still working down in that area on the vaults.
Is there any further update with regard to service providers?
So currently, right now, Ontario East is an internet service provider. When this project first started, we had reached out to Bell Canada, and they did not want to participate in our fiber project. So we also reached out to Cogeco, and Cogeco had stated that when the project is near completion, then we would contact them again to get a meeting to go over the whole project as a completed project. So Cogeco right now is the only knowledge I know is Cogeco is on Cornwall Island at the Seaway building, but the Seaway paid for that money themselves. And because of Bell, they were having the same issues. But one of the things when they had ran that back in, I think it was 2020, they ran that Cogeco line. They did it as they're testing the speed and reliability of it. So it was good timing on our end, so that they would keep us updated on any issues that they would be dealing with. But so far, it's been working good for them. So how I relate that to this project is they could be a potential ISP provider.
Have they been spoken with about, but you're going pretty far along the project, so they've been invited back to. For service?
No, not at this time, not yet, but in the new year, we'll look at contacting them because there's a few others we're looking into. There's one out of the Seaway Valley area. Not sure the name at the moment, but they're fairly, they service the 138 corridor. So we're looking to get them to see if they can demonstrate some interest. Another area too, we kind of just talked about, this was last term, was in Quebec. There's Bell's competitor, Videotron, and they are basically like the Bell Canada of Quebec. And we never reached out to them. We figured we would wait until we got so far in. That way, if they were to do a site visit, then it would be first impression from them. So, but Videotron is another one that was identified way back in when the project first began.
I really don't, I mean, it is an open system though.
It
right?
is.
So what
It's-
open means is that because it is government sponsored, the lines themselves. One of their funding stipulations is that anybody who provides that service can use the line, right? So it's almost like a, you know, certainly like a conduit, right? So we've run the conduit, now the providers will provide the service to the end user.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
that.
so,
Is
so,
it
but
up to
it's,
the resident to contact the
well,
provider?
I think that because.
Is they're gonna pursue different options?
I would say it's probably like a build it, they will come type of thing at first, when it first starts, probably gonna be, you know, the company that we're working with now, Ontario East, is it?
Yeah.
Has committed, but I think that more people will come on board. It is a market, right? So I don't think there's gonna be a problem finding. Right? In fact, I mean, if it's, you know, what we wanna do is find some cheaper providers, because Bell is pretty much the predominant one in most places. And they, you know, one of the reasons why they didn't want to come is because they want to run the line themselves and own the market. And this is not an owning the market project.
I figure come February, March, it should be all done, right?
Approximately, yeah, guesstimating. We'll see as it goes. Again, it's equipment that's been delayed to kind of finalize a lot of that.
Yeah, and it does tie into the St. Regis, right? So the power for the line goes through St. Regis, then into Snaihne, right? And so the construction project on Hilltop in that area, Park Street, has delayed that tying in because of some of the construction issues there. So there is a bit of a St. Regis component to Snaihne starting up.
So just to recap on the internet service provider, we'll gather as many companies and inform them that if they're interested to service this area, this community, then that list is as far as we'll go, provide it to the community. And that's where you make your decision, who you want to go with.
Yeah, question over here?
Yeah, explain how road construction made it fall behind. Explain to me how that happened and why.
Well, the why is probably bad planning. The how is because the conduits that were in St. Regis, the line will feed through there into part of St. Regis heading to Snaihne, right?
Yeah.
So when they done the Park Street project, it was not only the road, it was some water lines as well. So they were out, right? And so now they have to go back in and be, you know, so the road is, that project has been not completed, but it's back, they're back in the ground now. It caused a delay.
So they were in the ground already.
They were, yeah.
It took them,
Not all of them, but some of them.
I worked for a company, we did the whole city of Rock. There was gas lines in there, fiber optic was getting put in.
Yeah.
We had to work around. Only 6 inches deep, you take a hand shovel and they work around. Paying for all the extra money.
Well,
Taking it back out, putting it back.
good thing it wasn't miles and miles. There's not, it was
Well, they
smaller,
should
but
have been bothered.
yeah, the challenge here in the big city, they call before they dig. Here, we just dig, right?
No, you're not.
That's kind of, we're not accustomed to marking out.
Okay, so your red tape's gone, that's why you're saying.
Well, not always, but sometimes, yeah. And in this fiber purpose, yes.
Okay.
So that's how, it's a lesson learned for sure. but it has cost us delay on the project. Okay, any other questions on that fiber stuff?
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
With regards to the budget, are we within, are we
Yeah.
needing more money?
No, that's all well
All
within the
within.
budget, yeah.
Okay.
So that's our update for the fiber, and as it things, any new progress, we'll be sure the community stays updated. Now,
You want to update on the Rogers?
oh, yeah, my apologies. Rogers Tower. Okay, so the status with Rogers cell towers, the land's been surveyed for soil testing. The contract negotiations are underway for the official lease agreement with the community. And the parts have already been ordered. Rogers ordered that, and the date for construction is to be determined by Rogers based on the parts when they arrive and come in. So just to update those who are new to the Rogers Tower opportunity and just Snaihne, Rogers is funding the whole project themselves. It was part of the is a contribution they wanted to do to Akwesasne. So when they proposed the cell tower, just Snaihne was identified based on the blackout areas for cell signals and stuff. And so it posed a big concern when it came to emergency measures and things of that. So with this tower getting constructed in Snaihne, you know, once erected, it should eliminate a lot of those areas where the cell signals are bad today. Should no longer have that issue going forward. But again, once they determine that date based on their parts and the weather, then we'll definitely give communications out to Akwesasne. Cheryl?
Where's the land been identified? Common land?
It's right. I'm not sure. It's across from where? Oh, Akwesasne. Yeah.
Yeah, that's common.
Yeah.
Joan?
No, yes.
Okay,
Um,
Emily, did you have something?
Yeah, you have to be a customer of Rogers to get cell service off their tower.
No, it's just to provide a cellular signal. Yeah, so it's almost like you're bouncing off many towers like Bell, Rogers, Telus. You're not charged all of them. It's just to,
Oh, magic.
yeah.
It actually really depends though. So some of the cell phone providers work together, others don't, right? So it will be a Rogers tower. Definitely the Rogers users will, but I believe they align with Telus too as well.
Yeah.
So it may or may not improve some of the Verizon and those American providers, but also it could implicate, create some roaming issues for them, right? Which actually we're pretty used to having Canadian cell phones getting American roaming. They could work in reverse. Carol, and then we'll go back.
Well,
When you say we're big, negotiator. So we stand to make revenue on this, right?
yeah, based on the needs, that's what's being discussed.
So we'll generate revenue based on the number of years the lease was in place.
I don't think so. To be honest, I'm not sure of the actual contents of that negotiations, but I just know that that's it's in progress right now. So
On the committee, chiefs negotiator.
No, it's administration. So
administration,
but we do have the Telus Tower lease on Cornwall Island, and so there's some framework already from that,
Thank you.
right?
Why are people protesting on the start of fighting power?
Yeah. No, I don't believe so, no. But- I don't know the exact technology, but it's,
And you're going ahead with it, and you don't know everything about it. We're caught and they're going up on the Saturday, though, it's like 50 cars there protesting. That's how.
well, there has been engagement with the community on it. We definitely can find out exactly what technology is on it, but Yeah. Yeah.
Nice to put a, oh.
there's been notifications in many community choirs that there was focus meetings, and I know that the district chiefs have been talking about as well. It definitely has been a long-standing issue where people want to have coverage, right? I mean, driving here, it drops in and out, and this will help. It's not gonna be solve it all, but it definitely helps.
When Rogers did their presentation some time ago, I thought they did say it was a 5G tower because a lot of newer technology is coming out where it's just 5G.
Yes, I don't know the technology. I don't know. We definitely can find out. Anything else on the tower?
How long before you think agreements will be complete and they'll be constructed?
I don't think the agreements are the issue per se. I mean, the dollar value is, we have an indicator already. I think that it's really gonna come down to them getting the crews here and the part and the equipment to do it. We don't have a timeline.
No.
So what, is there, that's gonna be a forever lease?
No,
With Rogers, like they're constructing and they're funding the whole construction of it.
yeah,
What's the termination they get? Mohawk Council says, no, we don't.
yeah. I don't know offhand. I mean, but again, we do have the one on Farnham Island, which is not a forever lease, right? I mean, that's been renewed already, I think once. It may be a 20-year lease, but of course there are provisions for, terminating.
You don't have to pay them back for what they
No.
spent, right?
But at the same time, I mean, if hopefully we don't go in that spot, but if we do, having a having a tower, doesn't have to be a cell phone tower, could be a benefit to the community as well, right? Because right now, a lot of the MCA buildings run off wireless between buildings, right? So it's something with the fiber, and we've talked about this, heavily during the pandemic. We could technically use that tower to provide more Wi-Fi to the community. Be like a hotspot type thing, right, for Wi-Fi. So I mean, there's options without having power to community.
Is that something Rogers is gonna provide, like Wi-Fi opportunities with their tower and them providing the service?
That, I'm not sure at the moment, but I'm almost certain we could inquire about that. See what they say.
But I think that the generally in areas where they provide that Wi-Fi service is when you don't have fiber, right? So the fiber going in the ground in the community makes that a bit of a non-issue. It would be cheaper for you to buy your internet at home than to buy your Wi-Fi service, wireless service through Rogers.
You have to see, but
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's highly unlikely because the fiber to the home is coming. The fiber to the home is faster than what Rogers would offer on wireless.
we're hoping.
No, if all goes well, it will.
Bell says, but.
No,
they
no,
never
that's not Val. We don't, Val doesn't own it. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
No, that's it for now, and any new progress, we'll, again, put a communication on.
Okay.
No,
All right, thank you. So the next item we're going to turn to is the Dundee settlement, and I believe you're speaking to that one as well.
yes.
All right, so we'll turn it back to you.
All right, so just want to provide an update to the community on where we're at with the Dundee settlement. So I'm gonna have a presentation for that up. This is the presentation that was given to council by Welsh, our accounting firm, and it was basically from their perspective, they were showing us the comparisons between a trust versus a limited partnership. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the limited partnership also entails a general partner. So the general partner is part of the whole LP process. So what we're going to look at today is, this evening, go to the next slide. So just to recap, the settlement of approximately $240 million is what the Dundee is. And it requires that it must be used for the benefit of the Mohawks of Akwesasne. Funds must be transferred to entity or entities to manage and use the benefit of the Mohawks of Akwesasne. And it may include a trust, limited partnership, or other entities. So the priority is to acquire replacement reserve land. And that one point right there, that priority is identified in section 3.2 of the Dundee settlement. So right now, when this was presented to us, it was done from a tax perspective. So MCA is not subject to tax It's a public body performing the function of the government. And under the Income Tax Act 149(1)(c), that's where it talks about it. So it also talks about exempting corporations from tax if it's at least 90% owned by MCA. 90% of the corporation income earned within MCA's geographic boundary. Then regardless of the source of income, the distributions from the trusts, the allocations to limited partnerships and dividends to corporations. Those three areas he explained to us the difference between them and the pros and cons from each one. Just so we had a further understanding of the income that's going to be made from the settlement dollars when it's invested and where the taxes vary, the tax implications vary. Next slide, please. So alternative one is trust. So a trust is an arrangement where trust is settled, created by a party upon trustees for the benefit of beneficiaries. So MCA settled the trust by contributing federal proceeds. MCA would be beneficiary of the trust. It could include others as well. Trustees make decisions, question taxation. So under the Income Tax Act 75(2), the attributes first generation investment income. So it's an income earned on the original capital. MCA, there's no tax for the income tax. Second generation income is the income earned after the first year. It's either paid or made payable to MCA or taxable in the trust. The trust is subject to highest personal tax rate if the second generation income is not paid out. So that once that revenue is paid out, it has to be, it can't stay in to let it grow. Otherwise, that money would get taxed and then the money left could be reinvested. So that was how it was explained to us on that part. But MCA is not taxable on distributed income, which is when the money, if you look at our current trust today, when that income gets paid out to Mohawk Council, then it goes through, flow through to the trust. That money is not taxable. But there is a portion that is. The
So-
next one.
Quick question, then, using the existing trust as an example, whatever is held in trust is taxable?
After
Portion
the first generation.
after the first,
Yeah.
what's the first year?
So it's basically the first year.
The first year that was
So the money- Yeah, so the money,
afterwards, when money was drawn down or through MCA to the trust committee or whatever.
Yeah.
The money that's still held, is that taxable?
that's not.
No, so
taxable.
everything's been drawn down.
Yeah, so you have your, so basically you've got your settlement amount, it gets invested. So you go to year one. In year one, that's not taxed. So now that same principle, so that non-tax money goes to the trust. Same money in year two, that the dividend gets paid out, that's taxable. And then year 3 and 4, so on. And then whatever is left after the tax goes to the trust. Okay, so next slide. So the implications upon 21st anniversary, and deemed disposal of assets at SMG. You'll have to forgive me, I forget that actually. Capital gain generally taxed within. It may not be significant if gains are realized over time, turnover of investments. The 21st anniversary part, how that was explained was, I think that's the lifespan of that trust when it's invested. And then you look at redeveloping a new investment part. But I'll get more clarification on that aspect. But at the bottom, it does confirm it requires additional structuring after 21 years. Next one. So this is just a diagram to show where MCA and the beneficiary trust, and then the income goes back, and then the trust, the investments are managed by the trust. And the reasoning behind this is to show that It's the trust that's managing the investments and not MCA. So that's your arm's length away from the trust money.
So what's the arrow that goes back to MCA?
Income, that's the money that comes from the dividends goes back, but then it goes through back to the trust. Next one. So the second one, alternative is a limited partnership. So it's a partnership between at least one general partner and at least one limited partner. So the general partner manages partnership and bears the risk. Typically nominal stake and nominal other assets. Limited partner not involved in management and then does not bear the risk. Partnership, not a taxpayer, so the income allocated among partners. Ensure limited partners not involved in managing limited partner activities. The income allocation set by the partnership agreement, MCA is not taxable on income. Again, under the Income Tax Act 149(1)(c), and the general partner is likely taxable on income allocation. Next slide. So the general partner may be owned by MCA. Flexibility with life of the limited partnership, no deemed disposition as a trust. Next slide. As you can see here, you look at MCA. You got the arrow, common shares 100% goes to the general partner corporation. And then on the bottom, you've got limited partner interest, 99.9%. And then you have the general partner interest at 0.1 going to the limited partner. What that means is the general partner does not have much direction over where the funds goes. That's the limited partner.
Well, one limited much on, do they have?
So they're the board, they make up the board of directors, but the majority of the control is held by the limited partner. So the general partner is MCA, the limited partner is the community. That's why the LP, which is the community, has, if you see, the interest is 99.9%, and the income is controlled 99.9% by the LP, which is community.
So in this, you're saying GP work would be MCA.
Yeah, so that's separate so that, but one of the concerns with the limited partner is you look at the general partnership changes every time an election occurs. Whereas with a trust, there's the arm's length away, so the trust is based on community members. This is the difference with a limited partner and a trust. Next slide, please. Oh, I'll go back up real quick. So if you look at the bottom of the LP, and you see investments, again, just like the trust, the limited partner has control over the investment part. The general partner, they more or less give the advice and they participate with the limited partners as to what the funds and things should be.
So under the GP, you're using the term corporation, so does that GP fall under the corporation that you'll have to register?
So, yeah, general partnership, if they call it, depends, but again, it depends on the structure and how.
Okay, so you're saying the GP, you just said it was gonna be MCA.
Well, it would be MCA, it would, if the general partner.
MCA corporation will have to file with the corporation act as an entity.
Yes, but again, under Income Tax Act 149(1)(c), MCA is performing the functions of a governing body, so therefore the income would be tax exempt.
It protects the corporation under that title of being tax free, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
but again, they don't have, they provide input, but it's the LP, which is Akwesasne, the community, the beneficiaries that have, if you see, the investment are controlled by them. The income that flows back is 99.9%, and the interest held by the LP. So the control is maintained by the community. There's only 0.1 interest held by the general partner, which is MCA. So again, it demonstrates that arm's length concept. If you,
Kind of like the existing one right now where they decide and determine based on proposals submitted. The money goes back
no,
up.
No, the existing one is wholly a trust, the other.
that's the first one. This is the.
There's actually, I mean, in kind of layman's on that, the LP concept, which is there, has more, council has more control.
Yeah.
The trust council has less control, but the trustees work in the manner established by the settler, which is the person that created, which would be council and community, right?
Yeah, you're referring to the GP has.
GP has more control for council.
for council, But the
Trust.
LP,
Is the.
No, the LP and GP, that's all one. That's all one. You'll actually have two separate bodies for the whole function of
Yeah.
LP.
They have to work, they got
Yeah,
to work
LP.
together.
so LP, how do you envision that to be set up?
So right now, I think at this point we can stop here because if you, look at in your packet, the update on Dundee's claim, that is where we're at right now. And so before the holidays, council will be meeting and making the recommendation of which entity we're going to go with for the Dundee settlement right now.
But you're making recommendations to the community that's gonna vote on it, right?
Well, that's the
And
next,
that's not a decision council makes.
no, council makes,
Council will make. the
council
decision
makes the decision on the,
On which model.
on the entity, yeah.
We don't have to vote on it?
Not the design that it is now. But what you will is what the priority areas are, because the way the design will be is that regardless of what either the LP or trust, the priorities that structure will have, regardless of what it is, will be the community.
Yeah.
Right?
So
The real decision in that is, I mean, it's really like, like the framework will be this. We're moving towards will be determined by council. The priorities that the framework works within that framework, meaning the community priority area, will be the decision of community. And I would say that, I mean, council hasn't fully, like, we've had this presentation, we haven't made a decision yet. The real things is the control, how much control council should have over the entity and the risk of tax. Those are the two biggest areas that we have considerations for. The trust has the least risk of tax. The LP has more risk of tax. And the reason being is that trusts in general have been around for hundreds of years. Like old white people have made trust companies for a long time. There's a lot of structure established by that, and including the provisions of law around provisions of taxation around trusts. So it's very solid because we have a trust now. Our community has a trust. We have 50 million in there right now that the community benefits from. Zero taxation because all the benefits go back to the community. LP is not 100% clear on that. There is some more risk in that on that side.
So I just wanted to conclude with your question that once council makes that recommendation on the entity, the next step is community consultation on the use of what the funds are being used for.
Priority areas. Yeah.
Priority areas, but there's in the Dundee settlement, there's in section 3, 2 parts. One identifies the priorities of land and all the costs and everything associated. It's linked with Schedule 5. But then 3.3 is other priority. And these are both going to come from consultation from Akwesasne, from the community members, not us. We don't make that determination. That's based on community identifying the areas that you want to see it used for.
Question, why isn't the money being given really to the community trust?
I went to a trust update by Deloitte. And there was a few of us that went at the Best Western. And that was a question we just asked in general. It can be rolled into it. But there's a lot of the structure of that trust and what we learned from it. If we were to go down the route of a trust, like as part of the recommendation, then it would certainly be beneficial to look at a new trust. To learn from the existing one, the experiences that we've had, positive and negatives, and look at it from designing it from that. But we did make the inquiry to see if it is doable, but again, it would be a different. Path.
It's not off the table, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the benefits that we give now, that the trust gives now to the community. Somebody 1.2 million, I think, annually.
Yeah.
If we double the fund, meaning put out another 50 million in there, it means 2.4, 2.5 million that they'll put out, right? There are some restrictions in the existing trust that, I think lesson learned, if we were to do it again, wouldn't be in there. So there are some limitations. If we were to take all the settlement Dundee, stick it into that trust, I don't think that we would be meeting the real objectives that the community wants, i.e. around capital projects, right? I mean, because the way that's designed is that, we apply, but people keep getting upset that the MCA is getting all the money from the trust. That's because the MCA is the one that's delivering that can deliver those services, right? So, I don't think that it's the best model. It definitely works. It does hit the community. I would be in favor for putting more money in it, just not all of it.
So again, the chicken and egg situation is the community originally didn't trust council to be in charge of the trust. So there's trustees and then there's trust overseers.
Yeah.
Trustees. So there's two levels of that.
Yeah.
Ensure that council doesn't. Right, that. But the question then is, what does the community want to see? Because I see the corporation model, the LP working if the corporation was designed to be the one that goes and buys the lands and starts the ATR process. That will get in the direction on that if that's what the community would see.
Yeah.
The trust format would be again duplicating the trust system, and all of a sudden we have how many trustees and how many council members in the community all controlling monies here and there. So is that something the community wants?
Yeah.
The other is, if the priorities are, like you said, give some money to the trust, some of it is to land, what is the other options? So in theory, there should have been a consultation like there was before Dundee was settled. Union members asking what they would like to see. There was some discussions. And it sounds like, again, the chicken egg situation, like, well, we know with this model or this model, well, what's the goal?
Yeah.
The community saying, these are 3 priorities, 2 priorities, 1 priority. And is it going to potentially be capital funding that can be drawn on that MCA could use to fix the elevator? Or is it just going to sit in the bank?
Yeah.
Like it's been since January 2020 on my recollection.
Yeah. So, I mean, quite the loaded lot packed in there, but the existing trust and the reason why this overseers was exactly as you designed. We don't trust the trust, right? We don't trust ourselves. That's kind of how it is all over the place. So a trust is very secure, but we've never had one here. So we put an additional layer on it, make sure that it was secure, right? The secure on top of the secure has not worked out as well as we thought, because it's not normal in trust world, but it's what we wanted. That's what the community wanted. So that's a bit of a lessons learned in itself there. I would say that what we could do, and through one of these models, is that we would have more broader areas of priority, i.e. land, right? Land, infrastructure, community education or rights development, right? And so those 3 priority areas would spit out, we would put, say 50 million into this, 50 million to this, 50 million to this, all under one trust, $150 million. So that 50 would then dole out 1.2 for education and rights preservation, 1.2 for infrastructure that year, and then 1.2 for that other priority area, right? The trust, the way it's designed, kind of does that, but it's only by that survey, but it's narrowly scoped, right? So if we put one trust, 3 pots of priorities in there with a dollar value, we will definitely every year get something in that area, right? Right now, we're not hitting it because what happens is they do the survey and for the last 10 years, right? And last long time, the priority areas have been the same, which then means the trustees are limited to that priority area. What the community has said, we need to broaden that, right? Or define the scope of education or rights preservation to border rights, to post-secondary, to language preservation. Those surveys would then mean that all of the education priorities that have been identified, the top three, will get that designated, right? And then with the infrastructure could be, this year the community says, we want all the roads fixed. We want, new roofs on elders' homes type thing. 1.2 million of the 50 million would be coming out specifically for that based on what you have said. But what we want to do is determine the vehicle, go to the community, identify those three big priority areas, right? And that will be there for it, right? The individual kind of more detailed priorities will be then done through a similar process that the trust does now, through survey and stuff like that. That's what we're thinking on the design, so that the community input will be in those high level priority areas. That will always be a priority. And I mean, it may be in 25 years, it has changed. Everybody has a list of infrastructure is great. Then there's a process where we can change. And that's through an amendment, again, back through community consultation to say, what, the 50 million's been there for 25 years. It's met the objective. It's no longer housing now. It's, something else. That's the path we're going. Go ahead, Jerome.
Is there a way to do a comparative analysis to what you've learned from the existing trust to the direction you're heading in there, pros and cons, and show us in a report? And when the community comes to make a decision, they're gonna have it sitting right there in front of them. The lessons we've learned in the existing trust are A, B, C, and D, exactly half the stuff we just said. The diagrams that were just shown up there based on taxes, the revenue generated, how it circles back and gets back into the community, to the pros and cons of which one would be great for this. And then what do we do with that existing? Because the way that document is written, to make changes to that based on the board of trustees overseeing it right now, where's the clause in there that brings it back to the community after a certain period of time to review and say, we want to change how this is written now to the existing trust because it ain't working. So it's existed for X amount of years. Let's do a comparative analysis, let the community see where we can think of new innovative ideas to possibly change clause either in this document or go in the right direction to that amount of money, whether it be we take that money from there, or we take the 50 million, say we're cutting it now 25 because we're slapping a 5-year bill.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something in the education strategy we can do. I mean, and why, exactly the lessons we have learned and what we're going to do to make sure that, we're not repeating.
We don't make the same mistakes.
Did you have a question? No.
Just kind of wondering, reading in here, it says, Akwesasne will have the ability to purchase 18,000 additional acres of land. Do you pick the land, or is the land chosen already? Say this is what you're allowed, like what you're able to purchase, or are you going to get prime farm for agriculture, or are you going to get prime swamp for nothing?
The agreement which that language comes from is from all of the Dundee land claim area and the Cornwall SDNG writing. That 18,000 is encompassed both, in that area, up to 18,000. Buy it all in one area if you want, split it in half, quarter, whatever.
Where is the end of the FDNG area?
Would be
Glenn Walter.
Glen Walter-ish, no, it would be all of the Ontario to the Ontario Quebec border. I think somewhere up around Martintown up that way and then down around. I don't know if it's Prescott, this side of Prescott.
It's the whole SDG, right?
SDG. It's the entire riding, so to speak, that Eric Duncan. That's kind of the line. It's large. It's a large area. There's definitely more value in that land over there than there is over there from an economic perspective. Agricultural, definitely in the Dundee area. So it is those two areas. Yeah.
The one thing was reported, you had a real estate person on watch for over the years, whatever resulted in that. If we purchase agricultural land from here to say Akwesasne, it becomes ours. We can turn it to applying our laws and saying it's residential to us all. That whole mix of what's built into when we do purchase APR, many years it's going to take them out. Where's our real estate person watching out for us?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the real estate has gone quite crazy, and we haven't advanced that.
One thing to keep in mind on that is regards to that whole area that's identified as 18,000. it's based on willing seller, willing buyer.
Yeah. And it's up to the amount. Doesn't mean that if we, again, as a community get past that 18,000, it just means that the areas that are described in the Dundee settlement won't, like the provisions that we've negotiated don't apply, but we still can buy more. Doesn't mean we can't buy more. Philip, we'll go to you on your question.
So for the selection area for Ontario, it's the SDG area. It's set up the city of Cornwall. So it's kind of like everything else for the city of Cornwall. And then also for that selection area is there are restrictions on that. So, but the question, community is what's the community's goal? Theory when the 8 office and there's and so 18,282 acres. We're probably not gonna see that in our like
As reserved. As reserved.
as reserved. Like the whole entirety of it. So this is where the community needs to really think hard. What do they like to see generationally per focus? It is gonna be something new, something bigger. Develop whatever is developed there, is that going to take, some idea of the community development that we're still trying to build here. So. Yeah. So again, it is that community question as to what do you see as the ultimate goals? Because certain offices in MCA are designed to go after the goals, get it to a certain line, but then the community is like, what's the next step? We're chasing the tire, have the tire in our mouth. What's next? That's where Dundee is at. And also your update said Seaway. It's the other one. Yeah, Seaway plan. Next on the document. So. Yeah, those questions. That's what.
There's a lot loaded in there because going by the land could be potentially the easy part. It's everything after that, right? There, what's gonna happen to it, who's gonna manage it, the reserve, trying to reserve one component as well, but until it actually gets there, what do? Right? Do we hold it forever? Do we turn to keep it as the farm, we keep it operating from, what's that look like? Who does that? If it's gonna be housing development, it's such a big gamut loaded in buying more large parcels off reserve, right? Because even if we build homes, then the expectation is from our community, it's a service though, in all aspects, right? Home care, home support, now in Dundee, having assessments done from housing at those houses, all of that, and that's a lot of planning that we have to do. So that's kind of what Philip is alluding to, like, then what? Buying can be the easy part, right? Everything else is kind of the heavy lift.
The one thing to keep in mind in regards to what Philip described in Grand Chief is that once the land is purchased, yeah, that is the easy part. But in the settlement agreement, section 5A identifies all costs associated with that land until it becomes reserve status is at the expense of the settlement dollars. So taxes, environmental issues, anything of like, there's a whole list of it in section 5A. So that is the onus of Akwesasne.
And one last comment, from a public policy standpoint, you will never have enough. The community will always see more money for health, more money for education, more money for health. Those things will just be on. So whatever money is available, it's really up to the community. But what is the priority? What is something reasonable that the team, and then what is the ultimate long-term goal that you'd like to see? So, we're not going to do it again. We want to go $1 billion here, and we will still need $1 billion. Oh, awesome. Peaceful.
All right, thank you very much. We're
I
gonna,
just wanted to conclude by stating, Cheryl, thanks for the question on comparative analysis. Definitely be putting something together and see that presented with council. No,
all right, thank you. We're gonna move to the next presentation. We do have some guests joining us in the back, so I'll ask that we bring up the Department of Health presentation update for tonight's presentation. And I want to welcome Leslie Dero and Deela McDonald to present. Thank you for joining us. Where you'd like. On camera, off camera, side camera.
Yes, I'm Leslie Girl. I'm in the Department of Health, I'm the program manager of the community health program.
You're just gonna have to speak up a little bit more.
Like a lot more, like a lot.
Edward killed our microphone, so.
Hi, I'm
Otherwise
Leslie
you'd be able to
Girl.
use it.
Community health program. I'm the program manager. I'm sure I can yell.
Wait, 1 second.
The worker.
Yeah.
So Leslie,
Okay.
fingers crossed, everybody.
It's Edward. Close that.
That's Edward, sorry, Edward.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. Here we go.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Right.
Hello.
I'm not gonna touch it anymore.
Okay, I'm Leslie Darrow. I'm the program manager of the community health program, the Department of Health, and I'm Julie McDonald here. She is the manager of the Holistic Healthy Wellness Program. We'll look at the presentation today for respiratory updates and COVID-19 updates. So it's Indigenous Service Canada did put out a public health advisory. They released their advisory for all communities, Indigenous communities across Canada. And it's responsible for urgent incidents of respiratory illnesses such as COVID-19 variant of concern, influenza, pneumococcal, RSV, respiratory. Systemic rollers and other respiratory infections. Public Health Agency of Canada continuously monitors domestic and international activity related to COVID-19 variants, including sub variants of the Omicron variant. Indigenous people continue to be disproportionately affected by COVID-19 and other respiratory illnesses. This interim public health advisory is intended for its healthcare workers to provide services to First Nations communities and is adapted based on local context. It's aimed at develop to reiterate the importance of having up-to-date information and maintaining personal protective measures. So, this also put up public health recommendations, and that includes continuing to practice personal protective measures such as wearing a mask, physical distancing, and consistent hand washing. Wash hands with soap and water for 20 seconds or use hand sanitizer. Avoid crowded indoor spaces. Keep mask at high touch areas clean. Self-isolating following a positive COVID-19 test and follow up the healthcare providers direct. Staying home and feeling good, even with the negative COVID-19 test, and getting vaccinated against COVID-19 and other respiratory illnesses. So masking, the health unit, the secretary of health unit strongly advises masking when they're out in public, especially to really young children, elders, or immunocompromised individuals. Masks should be worn in any social setting when engaging with anyone who does not result in household. Masks should be worn when exhibiting any respiratory illness, symptom, when physical distancing cannot be maintained. And to continue practicing preventative health measures, the COVID-19 vaccine provides protection against severe illness, but are not 100% effective, which can be increased over time. Up-to-date immunization can prevent severe illnesses that may lead to hospitalization or death. And colder weather leads to more indoor activities, which can lead to an increase in the risk of COVID-19 and other respiratory illnesses. Contact with those who reside outside the household and social function together. So, community health. Our key focus areas are universal masking when physical distancing is not possible to be maintained, reinforcing hand hygiene in all areas, cleaning and disinfecting all high touch surfaces, staying home if you're not feeling well. MCA did give out a mask mandate, they reinstated it on November 22nd, 2020. So contact with a positive COVID-19 individual for 10 days following your last exposure. Self-monitor for any symptoms. Stay home to self-isolate. If you develop any symptoms and seek help testing for COVID-19 if eligible.
Wear a well-fitted mask in all public settings, including school and childcare. Avoid non-essential activities that require you to remove your mask, like sports or dining out. Avoid non-essential visits with somebody who's immunocompromised or may be at high risk for illness. Seniors. And avoid all non-essential visits to other settings if possible, the long-term care. So we do this wastewater monitoring and University of Ottawa comes down. The Ottawa they come down and they go to the water plant. So in this sample, they do sanitary sewage and they also do, it's called block 97 on here, but what it is it's on Cornwall. So they do the testing and get results every couple of weeks. So on here, it shows that block 97, which is the island, is high for COVID viral shedding, and Sandus is low. Oh, that one, yeah. So on here, it just goes and it shows what's high and what's elevated, so this is the lighting for what they have on the previous page. Then, so we've also been looking at RSV, and we've asked them to test for RSV as well in the wastewater. And as you can see, our RSV levels just started getting up higher in those 2 days, which would probably be the 16th of October. It started to climb up, so we do have RSV present in the community. And this one is the one on island, so that started a little bit later than Surrey, but it is still present. And I'm gonna have it handed off to Dalia, or do you want me to take questions now?
No, take it at the end.
Okay, are people able to hear me if I don't use my? No. All right, so, aside from the COVID-19 and RSV updates, I was starting to address some of the questions that have come up regarding the mobile clinic and walk-in clinic updates. So the mobile clinic was initiated as a way to create increased access for outreach services and clinic services outside of the clinic setting. And the difficulty with that has been the limited availability of staffing to go off-site. So with the limited amount of physicians and nursing staff available to operate these off-site clinics and their duties that they have in the clinic, it kind of makes planning a little bit difficult in that area. But we are collaborating with other programs. During the power outage, we were able to collaborate with community health. We continue with immunization services. We're also looking at working with other programs who might be able to utilize the mobile clinic as well. So just kind of put it to use when we and Holistic are able to use it as an individual. The walk-in clinic updates. We've been in discussions with one of our local physicians on the possibility of being able to open up a walk-in style clinic with the space restrictions for holistic offices. It kind of makes it difficult with physical distancing requirements to have it fully a true walk-in clinic. Just gonna, if the flow gets too heavy, it's gonna end up being a risk to public health recommendations. But it is something that we're in discussions on, and when it becomes more of a clear plan, there will be an announcement made. They're looking at trying to implement this once a month, possibly in January. There's a little bit of planning that's involved in that, as the location, it has limited access on off hours. So just working on a little bit of the logistics before we say yes, same day or by appointment on the weekends. In terms of program updates in general, we have been working on getting more providers to be able to increase access for community members to receive services, not just in the clinic, but also mental health services and traditional medicine services as well. So working on getting additional providers in those areas just to provide more access to community. One of the clinic nurses wanted me to say that blood work is available 5 days a week now in both clinics. So that's something too. But yeah, I'm open to any questions as well. But it's kind of my
Thank you. Go ahead, Paula.
When is the blood work clinics available? Is it something new that's just starting, or is it being communicated to the community?
Oh my God, I'll break it. Yeah, so that's something that we can put on in an announcement. It has been implemented it's been continuously implemented. And we've kind of just been letting community members know as they call in, hi, we're gonna book some blood work. And then we let them know, oh, okay, we can see you any day, Monday to Friday, anytime before 2 o'clock, because that's when like labs comes in, it's the lab work. So it's something that I can put out as a communication for sure.
So 5 days a week between 8 and 2, available at both clinics.
Yep.
Okay, blood work. Yes, Jones.
Like that for lobotomy coming back, or we look back and come back into the community for the facilities.
Like to fill up the blood work.
Yes.
That's something that I haven't been in discussions about myself. I know that they do pick up at the various locations, and usually each location has a nurse who does the phlebotomy. But I'm not sure about any other facilities. I can look into it.
It's just because when before for pandemic hit, they used to come at first thing in the morning, 7:30, and the residents will be ready and they're fasting, and but the way it is now, she comes around noon time. So and that's what I was asking if they could come in do the phlebotomy for us.
Like,
Yeah.
it's something that we can put in and ask for. I'm not sure what the long-term care facilities have in terms of guidelines for providers to go into these facilities. I'm not sure if there's anything that's recommending that outside providers don't go in and come out. Just because they do stop at various places, so that would depend on the long-term care.
So you have all your nurses do phlebotomy?
We are working on cross-training each other. So there's not just one nurse available, so if that one nurse will be phlebotomy, there is somebody that's cross-trained that can fill in as well, so that we're not limiting services for that.
Thank you, Chair.
Let's have a question about the immunization cards. I got my first and second shot plus one booster. And I remember when this started, there was promise of who registered our information with out there in the system. I don't know if it was province or federal. I can't remember who it is because I didn't get my second booster. So are we still doing it? Because I don't know the site.
Yeah, we still register. So if you go to Eastern Ontario Health Unit site,
Okay.
and I have a process that's at work, and you enter either your health card number if it's Ontario. If it's Quebec, it's a little bit different. You enter 0. And then from there, they send a picture of your booth and they put it in the health unit.
But will our third shots be put in? If we gotten from MCA, if we get one tomorrow, will that go into the system?
Yep.
No, I'm talking about not MCA shots.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when I tried it, about my little card, that first shot I got, I followed the process, but I just couldn't remember where it was under, so it's under.
It's under Health.
Yeah, so say registration shot, you need any other,
Updated.
yep, and your pilot can print it off, you don't do that.
Okay.
Thank you. Question over here, go ahead.
Julia?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, we talked about mental health and, wellness program. I guess the shortage of, education. This year, even though it's COVID, we were able to hold on. Such family after OD and suicide. And that process hasn't stopped. I just had one last night. I had one a few weeks ago. And I had one last month. And I always refer them back to our facility. But I'm not going. So now that you brought this up, I'm thinking, why isn't there more preventative stuff happening for our youth, but we're all struggling? And it's not just the youth, it's the parents. There's a lot of help that's needed. We got a big meeting that's coming. And we talked about this because I know we come from an oral tradition that we're not teaching our kids the way it used to be. I mean, we all, I mean, at my age, it was natural to learn all of this stuff. And when they make an appointment, it's like 3 weeks ahead. It's early in the morning, and these kids are completely different. It's sad because when you're taking a person gone from the world, there's no help for the family. That's what we need to look at. And it's here, it's in our community, the drugs are here, the alcohol is here. And we had this meeting with the elder. 34 of us. They heard that there's alcohol that's gonna be served on the board. We're not gonna go after this. They don't want it, or nobody does. We had in 1987, how many deaths did we lose? It's gonna be another, gonna go out of control, especially with all these weed stores that are popping up. We need to look at, they always say the future of our people. I'm looking at this and I'm listening to the elders. Nobody's listening to them. I would bring it up tonight. Because there's one elder that's really affected by what happened a couple weeks ago. And it doesn't get reported. Because they don't want anybody to know what happened. And then families. It's hurting. We're not hoping to help them. Sad to see it. Hard to talk about it because nobody's immune to this, especially with everything that's going on in the community. I wanted to bring that up if there's any, I know I did for a couple of mental health last year in the 4 sessions. I was asking for more preventative stuff. I'll bring that up.
Well, definitely, we know that the need is great in any way that we can support that. That's what we're here to do, you know, and not that it's any solution, but we have this year again put out the community healing fund for community-based organizations to help heal. And healing is very broad, right? I mean, it's not, it could be about addictions, getting off of, you know, the residential schools, the COVID, mental health, like everything is so. The needs are very high, right? And so that was a target to be able to support community organizations, but also definitely, you know, we're making sure that our programs within the MCA are responding accordingly as well. We are, you know, we have brought the detox center will be going online soon enough on Cornwall Island, which is only a small component of the issue, because one of the things I've been pushing heavy, you know, internally is the aftercare, right? And because detox is a very small part of it. There's a lot more in there. And, you know, I'm not preaching to the choir on this. It's really about aftercare, make sure those supports are there going forward. You know, that's the most difficult because relapse is real, right? And that's.
One of their three workshops that one, I just live on a, you know, they have it. It's all the good people that come.
Hmm.
You can put these workshops on at night.
Yeah.
When they're awake.
Yeah.
And that's what's been happening. So I said, here, we're gonna set up a work at the home. And we start at 8 o'clock at night. And you don't finish till 1 in the morning. But at least you're targeting for family.
Yeah.
And that's what we did with this family of 36. We didn't stop before we were done.
Yeah.
I like to see more of that. I mean, that's what I do all over the world.
Well, thank you for that, and definitely something we hear, and we're doing what we can, but it'll never be enough. And we're doing the best, and I, you know, thank you for the work that you're doing on this as well. Yes.
I know at some of our Snaihne district meetings that we've had in the last couple of months, it was, I know I had asked what MCA programs we're doing with regard to working, not your standard 8 to 5, but from 4 to 8 and o'clock at night. And that was one of the things that I don't know who Health Portfolio was gonna follow up and look into, even with ACFS, the different programs. I know at Whoville House, you said there were activities going on there. So those were some of the questions that, I know there was a comment made that perhaps it wasn't as easy to change employees' work hours. You know, and I said, no, that's possible, you can do that. But I, you know, with what Emmy is saying, there's a lot of after hours, you know, kids are in school between 8 and 5. Or they're, you know, at the Boys and Girls Club. It's there's a great need for 4 to 10 o'clock at night. Help boy homework. A lot of families don't have that. Also, we have 3 recreation centers that we can use. But it's the staffing and the programming. You know, where I know you have a lot of staff who may be able to. Is that time?
Well, definitely something that we've prioritized as well. I know when through our strategic planning, we've talked about this as well, realigning our services to, those hours, especially at this time of need. So it's not gone unheard. It's just, as you can appreciate, not as simple as, we'd like it to be, but it is definitely things we are pushing forward. Carol?
Just a point of clarification on the island block 97. Presentation on the slide, you said block 97. The viral setting for COVID is there in the wastewater. So what is the impact to the degree where it impacts or in the waste, like the sewage?
Sewage.
Like when they did the test,
It has the sewage.
okay, so it's showing up in the sewage.
It's showing up in the
That
sewage, which
this
means
virus is in there. Okay, in sewage.
It's used as an indicator, right? So that we're not going, because they are confined systems, like the one back here has a system, but it's only that area, right? So they would go tested, depending on the levels would determine how many people, well, not exact science, but a lot of people in that system have the virus, right? So that's what she's saying. It's being detected in pots and places. Since COVID, about a year in, probably they started doing that.
Yeah.
So many municipalities where everybody's hooked to a system, they've started doing that so they can get some benchmarks, so how, what's really happening? Because, after a while, we all know that people stop testing, and, just, it's the point of not isolating. So how do we market that? These are some of the small areas that we can, because we don't have all of the systems hooked up to wastewater systems. Okay, was there anything else for the presentation?
Yeah. I
Yes.
just have a question for, not for blue clinics. I know I had called about 2 weeks ago to try and get an appointment in, but I was told it was only on Friday. Are they changing that?
Because we did have the big, we went around the community in the 3 different districts. So we had to get COVID, so we designated one day and it'd be Friday.
And there's no flexibility.
Very quickly, call the office.
I did,
Yeah.
they said no. Just Friday.
Talk to April Frank.
Right, thank you. Then I know at the district meeting in Snaihne, I had asked before about what the usage of the mobile clinic. Like for some statistical information, how often was it taken out, how often was it being used? On the island in Snaihne, what's how successful is the return on our investment in that? I think we have 2 vehicles. Okay.
Well, actually,
Okay.
well, but I can only speak till April and then before that. I wasn't involved. So it was purchased and it was here located on the island. It was health providers, they were going to do clinics. Anyway, the battery died in it and the carbon monoxide detector was not used very well. We think it's operating for parts for that, but we did take it out to start having clinics. So we were looking at trying to get it at the open house, but we got short staffed. We were doing different areas like that to do pop-up clinics, either COVID or flu. And we're just waiting for it to get fixed right now. We'll helping out.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much to both of you for the presentation update. Really appreciate you coming by this evening to share the information with us. So thank you. Okay, so that is it for the 3 update presentations that we have. We are, there is in your packages a flyer that has been shared on social media for the Mohawk Council that we're reminding you tonight that we are in lieu of, in previous years, we've had Christmas dinners with the community because we're still trying to be as cautious as possible. Didn't think that it was a good idea to bring people in a congregate setting to share a meal. So what we're going to be doing this year is giving a turkey and or ham giveaway, which will be happening on December 9th at the Enola Go Arena. And families will be able to receive 1 ham or 1 turkey. So we're just sharing that information tonight, starting at 10 a.m. to 2:30. Unfortunately, it's not happening in other districts simply because of unfortunately, the border situation. Poultry is not, you can't bring over bulk poultry easily. The other thing is that we don't have the facilities to store this, right? So they're bringing a tractor trailer down that's a freezer. Will be there for the period of time, and then we'll distribute it from there. Those elders or who are homebound or on Meals on Wheels client that are interested can call ahead. We have a list going and they will get those delivered to their home. Yes.
Organize December 7th for delivery.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paula, and then we'll go over here.
So what happens when you're coming through US Customs with that big sign, no post on the lot?
Yeah, well, there's, yeah, we have, they'll, if you're going to Snaihne or St. Regis, which will be where you'll be going, there is exemptions for that.
Is there?
Yeah.
So what? Okay.
Well, you're not gonna get 10, Cheryl, if you show up there. I can assure you that. Yeah. 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 Go ahead.
Every time there's a food giveaway, no matter who's doing it, if it's MCA or the tribe, no matter where you do it, there's always a long lineup of cars. And I know they had one at the senior center in Hogan last week or so. Cars were way out on McGee Road. And then the people at the end of the line didn't get any. So, because everything was all gone. So these people, and all of them sat on the road for an hour or two, I'm guessing, before they got to the end of the line and there was nothing there. So my thought is, because it happens every single time, is can you not have like some kind of a registration? Like how many families or households are you talking about? 1,000?
How many have we ordered?
1,500.
1,500 each or 750?
650 turkeys and 650 hams, and I can respond.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Me too. I'd be curious to know.
So essentially what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be using the arena parking lot. So you're gonna be coming in that back entrance to the parking lot. So when you come up, there's the huge part on the left here. So we're hoping we'll be able to at least guide and snake the cars through this way. We're also gonna have 2 lanes that'll be open so that vehicles aren't just lining up in one lane. You're gonna have 2 separate areas that you'll be able to pick up a ham or a turkey. It'll be at both of them, so it's not like 1 lane for turkey, 1 lane for ham. And then at the end, you're just gonna come back into 1 lane and you're gonna make your way out the front of the parking lot there. So hopefully with the lineup there, coming down Arena Road and up and snaking through this way, it won't be so much of a huge lineup, but there is 1,500 total hams or turkeys.
So presumably then you could have, 1,500 cars,
Yes.
showing up at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
So I just worry about that traffic jam and also the total waste of gas, that people are sitting there waiting and, gas isn't cheap, as we all know. I just think there's gotta be you're all smart people here, there's gotta be a better way, a more efficient way to deliver these goods without that long traffic tie up and gas and, environmental issues of all this going into the air and,
Well, I think that maybe we could look at more than 2 lines. I mean, that's a resource issue. We get enough people there, all hands on deck. We could definitely have 4.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
want a ham, go in this lane, turkey in this lane. Definitely what you're advising, we can make our best efforts. to accommodate, however.
because it's gonna happen again,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen
Yeah.
again.
It'll never be right on, but we'll do the best we can,
Yeah.
right? And I think that the line, if we have enough people, we can count, right? If
Yeah.
you're at the end, we're not gonna definitely don't want you waiting an hour and get nothing, right?
Exactly, and it makes it very unnecessary.
Yeah. And I'll just say that we do have a little thing on there about the donations of canned food, clearly optional, right? I mean, what we will be doing is donating it to the St. Regis Church food bank and perhaps another food bank area. I mean, it is a bit of
Yeah.
it is, we've got everything we do, we get chastised, right? We're giving away food, but you want food, right? The reality is not everybody that's gonna be in line for it. We're not asking for $100 in canned goods. If you want, it's completely optional, right? So,
Well, you should also look around at the other churches as well.
Yeah.
Probably the Methodist Church and whatever
Yeah.
other churches as well, we may have a food bank as well.
okay, you should, go ahead, Cheryl.
Is the 1,500 turkeys inclusive of the deliveries to elders?
Yeah.
Because if it is, then you should eliminate that number.
Yeah.
So you're giving the true picture of how many you have. So if the elders are gonna receive it in their homes, put it out
Yeah.
there, that's 1,200.
Yeah, that's exactly why we have the cutoff date for the sign up, so that we know exactly how many turkeys or hens to set aside for those homebound individuals. And also, so we have enough drivers on hand to make sure that they can get those
you know, depending on.
And I was gonna ask who are the drivers to the homes?
Yeah, we have,
Volunteers.
Yeah, well, we have some volunteers from the Department of Health, from DCSS, Meals on Wheels also are providing some drivers to assist. So hoping that all happens.
Yep. Okay, go ahead.
I have an apartment at Sweetgrass Manor and I'd be happy to be the deliverer for Sweetgrass.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay.
Okay, so that's informational sharing with you and hopefully we'll do the best we can to make sure all goes well. All right, so we're going to turn to business from the floor, where we'll take either questions or comments from the community abroad that wish to address council. So we'll do that now. We'll go here first and then we'll go back.
I have a couple items.
Yep.
I saw an information sheet about the MCA sheet information thing, and it was about funding for the St. Regis Catholic Church steeple.
Yep.
Apparently it's in need of repair.
Yes.
But it said that the money was coming or being requested from the Quebec Community Infrastructure.
Yep.
Program or something. So I wasn't clear on why it was coming to MCA first. Would not the church apply directly to Quebec Community Infrastructure for funding for their church repairs?
In this case, no, the applications for community projects under that fund go through the Mohawk Council. Historically, that money has actually been used for all MCA projects.
The Quebec Infrastructure.
Fund, yeah. Yep, yes.
So my other question, the other part of that then is why is not the St. Regis Catholic Church going directly to the church? They are the richest institution in the world, trillions of dollars in assets. So I'm not clear on why they're looking for money outside of their own church.
Yeah, that I can't answer, right? I mean, so the costs that I understand it to be for repairs is around $260,000. And in order to get the fund, you have to match it. So we're not, if this works out, which the only application can be denied, there'd be no cost to the MCA, be from the Quebec, right? So it's not,
So
they will match that other half. The
They
MCA.
must come to you at some, or you or somebody at
Yeah.
some point
Yes,
asking to submit an application on their behalf?
no,
Or
the
they're-
direct ask to council was if council would put any money.
Oh,
Yeah. And so this is not a workaround, but a solution where it's not coming from the MCA. The MCA is facilitating an application to another fund.
I'm still not clear on why you would do that.
Well, it's either that or say no, right? I mean, I think trying to help community organizations, whether it be the church or the Boys and Girls Club, or it was something that we do.
Why are they not asking their own?
I think that I can't answer that.
Yeah.
I can't answer that.
I just don't, I just think there are, guys are so busy. I just don't see why you're getting into this one. It just, and the other thing to me is it shows favoritism, like the Methodists might come along or the Anglicans or something else, There are other denominations that, might need help too.
Yeah.
Well,
we do, the St. Regis Catholic Church is on community land, band land as it's classified as, and we do provide some other supports for it, right? Other churches which do serve the community are not on band land. So, definitely, I mean, council has supported this. It's only an application. Paperwork into them works. It does. If it works, great. If it don't, sorry, we can't help you.
So that's a whole, bring it up as a whole history of the people, why they're not takes care of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. We pay for the actual insurance as well to the St. Regis Church.
You do.
Yeah, and they're a recipient of some Akwesasne heating fund dollars as well to help support.
So part of,
This is not new though.
I'm flabbergasted. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's been like that it comes out of Casino-Rama actually, I think, for the insurance dollars. It's
Well,
not new.
I don't know how you reconcile, putting all this money into an organization that has brought so much harm to this community.
Well, definitely isn't.
I don't know how you
Yeah.
balance that.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to get into that with you
Yeah.
tonight on that. I'm just telling you the facts, right? That the Mohawk Council has supported the St. Regis Catholic Church for a very long time. In one way or another, not full bore, I can assure you that. Right?
Spoke against.
Yes, what we have, when we've done the audit presentations, people have said, why are you not helping this congregation, and we have said no other one has come forward. And every time we have that conversation, people say that, nobody comes forward. Council will consider on a case by case, right? If-
Again, you know, you mentioned earlier, like, you know, elders groups need fixing, you know, and yet they're not being fixed, or, you know, things like that
Yeah.
go undone that
Yeah.
are, that would benefit the whole community, not a few.
Mhm. Yeah. We facilitate a lot of applications or transfers of funds for community groups or organizations in many different ways. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. My other question then is, this happened at, it was yesterday, I went to the health fair at the, St. Regis Rec. And, I was having lunch with my cousins, and one of my cousins has a non-native wife. And we were having lunch, and she said something about, I can't go to those health screenings. Or the health fair, it was the health. And I was surprised, is that true? The non-native spouses cannot attend health fair and get a blood pressure check. I got my finger pricked, I did a little exercise activity.
no, I don't think so. I mean, any of those health fairs that have been provided by the Mohawk Council, or anybody who walks through the door, we're going to check.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I didn't know when she said that, and you know, just it's an older couple, and I thought, well, is this always been the rule, like forever? Or-
No, I don't think I don't think that's accurate. Maybe they feel that way,
Maybe
but
she-
it's
yeah, maybe she
definitely,
just felt
there's
that.
definitely not somebody at the door checking whether you are a member or not and turning you back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so then she may be a member then?
it doesn't matter. Nobody's turning them back at the door when they go in there for health fairs. Yeah. You're good?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
no,
Yeah, what do you, I mean,
I have a question. I travel a lot in Canada. When I gas up, and what bothered me was, I gassed up, I paid $95. When I got my card, it took $25 off, but I didn't pay tax. I like that here, yeah. So I asked them, I said, no.
Yeah.
And they said, "You don't want to do people." And so they're gonna get my card. I was,
yeah,
everywhere I go, I'll look at my receipts and say, "I'm just $25 on the." And that's when they appreciate.
yeah,
Let's look at taxes on it. There's no tax there.
yep, there's excise tax, yeah.
So,
Yeah, yes,
Good question. Gotta leave this week's road, the weather's changing, it's getting worse and worse and worse. What are we doing to make sure that my car don't go 18 feet into a sinkhole in front of Eddie Mitchell's? As winter weather comes, and spring's gonna close. Still don't know where we are on the priority list because I never go proceed. One of the meetings I was told I was gonna give it sent to me, never got it. Second, suggestion or recommendation, some of these so-called money woes we seem to have, that everybody's trying to find a pot of money here and there. When our infrastructure areas need tending as well, so. How do we access the Enbridge money, $2 million to use it on somebody's project? The Enbridge money in the agreement is supposed to be spent back on community. So we have the walking trail going over, we hired somebody to go find the money, and we had a lot of money sitting there, $100,000 a year to get in. Why doesn't that $100,000 first year be spent on the island, second year, St. Regis, third year, Snaihne, and it just keeps going around to the project priorities that may be needed. So that road in that leads to Akwesasne Road that's crumbling, the pothole in front of Joe Cook's, where the manhole cover is, that's sinking in further and further. The manhole cover at Stanley Square's corner, that's starting to, there was a fix to it where they brought it up, now it's starting to sink again. At some point, something has to be done to make that road a priority, because now with the high volume of traffic, with the influx to the pot shops on the corner, the roads are starting to deteriorate in that corner on a far white all the way back to the church corner. Right? So how do we move this along for next spring that, like I said, my car don't end up in the sinkhole? There's $2 million in Enbridge. There's ways we could use that money.
Is there a response on the Dundee Road?
Yeah, we provided a response to your inquiries on the last general meeting. You are going to lead the Akwesasne Road is on the priority list. And they also explained the process that needs to happen for it to get completed, and I think it's 23-24.
$23 million?
No, 23 year.
Year,
23-24.
Oh, near.
But I can go back and I unloaded my bag. I had all that stuff in there because I was prepared for that last general meeting. But I know I supplied some information to the Grand Chief on that, and he reported back to the community on that priority list.
Okay.
But I can go back and I can get the exact information. If you want a personal email, I can.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
And on your Enbridge question, ultimately, it's up to council whether or not they want to use that funding for that. The decision hasn't been made, right?
So,
But on the walking trail,
a petition or a proposal on how that Enbridge money could be spent for a particular project, then you would have to take that to the table and basically say, yeah, this makes sense that we spend $500,000 on this particular project. Especially if there's a necessity for it.
yeah, what would that project be though? I mean, and the road, $500,000 on the road, unfortunately, is not gonna go very far though.
The Tsiothóhrha kitchen. That's it's a trap and a disaster. Then that project needs to move along somehow. And the costs connected to that where.
Yeah, so that's the problem, right? Is that we have identified pot of money, but the second we say this, like you started with the roads, then you went to the walking trail, now you said the thing, right? Enbridge is, it's $2 million, but $2 million can go really fast, right? So I mean, that's kind of the dilemma we're always in. What are those priority areas for this fund, right? And and then as being part of the author of that agreement, right? I mean, there's a Cornwall Island component of that. How do we divvy that up? Is it going to support some of the natural gas projects that we want to do? Like there's always all of those questions.
I'm not saying spend it all in one shot either.
But I'm saying that
It would be.
$2 million goes fast on infrastructure projects, and I mean, it costs the Mohawk Council a lot of money to do things. Not that I agree with that, but that's the reality, right? So I think that, but on the walking trail, I think we have that set. Council has pledged the money to do the walking trails in all 3 districts, right? And now, and as you probably know, it's hard as heck to find people to do the jobs right now too, though. The weather's not, well, unfortunately, we're now into the winter season, but capacity of contractors in all aspects is difficult. When we bid the roads, we get 2 bids, right? We should be getting 4. And, you know, so that's a huge issue as well. So, I mean, we're tackling that. We've identified the money for the walking trails. By spring, we should have, you know, pavement on the ground for, provided there's pavers available. So that's been satisfied. But yes, on the Enbridge thing, I know that you bring it up often. It's a priority area. I mean, it's how do we manage that, balance that? Yeah. Was there anybody else on it? Go ahead.
You had stated that maybe we're having a detox, and you mentioned the detox center, very small, you said, and you're worried about aftercare.
Mhm.
My question is, because we have such a shortage of professional staff, such as nurses and doctors and PAs,
Yeah.
how do you propose, even physicians? How is it proposed that we can have a 4-bed detox center and have nurses adequately staffing that area? Because it's just not only nurses staffing it, it's a whole gamut of programs staffing that facility. And yet we sit here talking about a kitchen that needs to be done at Akwesasne. We sit here talking about roads and that, and you propose a new program, which is going to be costly. So, like, she talked about a suicide, or like the family or whatever she's discussing. Like, that's a big issue. We don't even have the proper psychologists working in the community with the kids. Do we have proper counselors in the school systems with these kids? It starts at a young age going up. So we have so much social issues we haven't talked about, that she's bringing, like Annie's bringing up a very serious issue. And now we've got a detox. Whereas in Huntington, there's a good detox center in Huntington. Why isn't that utilized?
Yeah.
Like, do we even have a drug and alcohol program where you have counselors that would find the funding, that work with them to go to the detox, come back, and they do the aftercare? They had that years and years ago, and it fell apart. So why can't we revisit that? Because the detox center is like, what's it going to do? Look at the young girl that hung herself at the hospital. God's sake, in an emergency room. Like, seriously. Like, mental health, it's awful. It's addictions. She said it all. But we have a 4-bed detox center, and we're struggling. All the facilities are struggling with registered staff, and you have to put registered staff in a detox because they have a lot of physical issues that are going to happen when they come off the drug. So where do you get that staff? What makes them a priority over what we already have that's in a priority?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, this is something that we've had conversations about. You know, the detox has been years in the making, really, as well. So, I mean, this is, you know, come out of, you know, trying to get the service, the funding, you know, the availability, like it's finally popped out, right? I mean, so the timing on a resource perspective, from people perspective, getting professionals to do it couldn't be any worse right now, right? And you're absolutely right. I mean, we've been assured that they're going to do it. I mean, be able to, you know, we'll see if it is, right? We really will. I mean, we don't want to expand programming at the expense of other programs, right? And it really is an administrative, you know, how they're going to manage that, but it definitely is a concern of ours, right? Because also we want success in the whole healing process. And, you know, in my own opinion, we are lacking in a lot of other areas, right? The detox is only one component. Then there's rehabilitation, you know, and then there's aftercare, right? And then there's all of that stuff that supports all of that. So we got to make sure, like, in order for it to be successful, there has to be all of those components, right? So I don't have an exact answer, but I know what you're saying. And it definitely is a concern of ours to make sure it's successful, because otherwise we're just setting up something and we're really setting up failure in many aspects. We're failing the community, failing ourselves from not having enough to be able to support it. And, you know, and when we fail on things, we have a hard time doing it again, right? But at the same time, this has been a response, though. People have told us, why don't we have a detox unit? Why don't we have a detox unit? You know, so we're doing the best that we can.
You know, why don't we have a nursing program here?
Yeah.
Like, why don't we have that education here? You're hooked up with a long-term college. they're hooked up with Yohio. Why don't you have
Yeah.
nursing program?
Yeah, no, definitely. It is something,
They have guest W, one person applied.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that fell through.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going out for help anymore.
yeah, no, for sure. Well, thank you for that. It's not going on deaf ears. It's a concern that we have, so.
So so who do I call to make an appointment to visit someone in executive or, because I have other concerns
Mhm.
that, like, nobody helps.
Yeah,
Nobody.
Yeah.
And I can say that as someone with experience, nobody helps when it comes to healthcare. Nobody. And it does fall on deaf ears.
Mhm.
I don't have any help.
It is something that we can set up, I'll commit to following up with you on that and we'll set those
Could
meetings
you
up.
please?
Yes.
And then I've heard our district chiefs, yeah, we'll go see you. Yeah, we'll go see you. It's been 6 months, almost 8 months. I've not heard from anybody.
Yeah, well, they haven't come back and done nothing. I can assure you that. They have brought the message back. We're such in a critical time as an organization, as a community, there's a lot, there's a lot. Now, I'm not,
An email.
Yeah.
Would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay. You're all elected for a reason, and we all have big, expectations for electing the leadership here. And when somebody says to you, yeah, we'll go and see you, yeah, we'll go sit with you, not a phone call, not an email, no, nothing. You have a tendency to, you know what, like, I don't have faith anymore. I have no more faith, no more. So why go to, and I asked an elder, I don't see you at the district meeting or even the general meeting. They see you all the time. He said, why? Nobody can answer my questions. Nobody can say anything. Why? Why go? I said, geez, that's sad. She goes, yeah, it is sad.
like,
Well, I'm gonna keep going because I'm nosy. I want to know things.
Yeah.
But you guys say you're transparent. No, you're not. You're not transparent. Nobody calls anybody back.
Yeah.
And I know you guys got thick skin. I know that. I know you guys are busy because I'm just as busy, if not more busy than you. And I have issues, and everybody here has issues. But we don't get what we don't hear what we want to hear, what we're expecting to hear. We don't. The
Yeah.
big thing tonight was financial,
Mhm,
was the money, the millions and millions and millions of dollars.
mhm.
Where are we gonna spend it? What are we
Yeah.
gonna do with it?
Yeah.
And what are you gonna say? Like, when I was at the district meeting in Snaihne, they wanted another district meeting in December. Now, I have a question. Is it gonna happen or is it not gonna happen?
Yeah. Well, I don't, I don't respond. I mean, not accountable for members of the council's actions, but I can tell you that your members of council do bring back the messages. Whether or not they bring back, the actions or what you want to hear also is sometimes difficult because we're not telling you what you want to hear. And that is not always possible, but I can tell you that, there's not one person that's not sitting here that's not trying to respond to all of the communities. The needs are super great right now. We're at such a difficult time right now as a community. And I can commit to you that I will reach out, we will have a meeting and I'll bring the appropriate people and we can see what we can do on this. I mean, I don't want you to think that you're not being heard, you're being heard. Your frustrations, your concerns, we all share the same, right? And we're gonna do what we can.
So
Okay, thank you.
I'll come back in January.
Don't worry, I know you will be here and I'll be gladly here to talk about it. Hopefully we will have had that meeting before. Okay. Emily, we're gonna go to you, then we'll go to.
Yeah, she had her hand up before me, but she wasn't acknowledged. So,
Okay. So you're-
No, I just wanted to make sure, we had that meeting with the elders. And, they're really concerned about, they heard in the community that these are a long way for alcohol to be sold on the.
Yeah, I heard this, yeah.
Here, broad community.
Mhm, mhm.
Only because there's one elder, the grandson. Gummies, I don't know, the gummies that he takes alcohol and he gets the alcohol here. Red ball. It says, I mean, if he takes it, he goes into a different level. Because if they open up the alcohol store, there's a lot of meat shops here, what are you looking at? I know you aren't getting the reports of how many of our kids are in the psychiatric ward. I go to see them. And it's serious. So you're looking at opening up alcohol again. How many years ago, how many of us lost family members? Right, remember that? This is what these elders are really. And nobody's asking them, because you're just saying things could be online, they don't come to the meetings. They're scared. When I listened to them, I was like, holy crap. They don't know about gummies, but they've seen these things in the house. They don't know anything about gummies, they've never been, but it makes them go into a different level of something. And her grandson is in psychiatric for right now after that. And it's not coming back. Causing psychosis, causing schizophrenia. But it's legal, right?
So just on the alcohol component, the ban for selling and that was put in 1987 still continues to exist, right? And the only way that it will come off is through a community referendum. It's put in by referendum and it's going to come off by referendum. So until that day comes, there will be no alcohol. There will be no licensed alcohol sales happening under our jurisdiction.
What about all the these shops?
Yeah. So yeah. So we have put a not an official cap, but we have a cap on the amounts that we have. What we see is what we got is what we're going to be there, right?
What's all those elders here next meeting? You'll hear their concerns.
Mhm.
Not listening.
Yeah. No, the alcohol sales will not be happening. It's definitely driven from the community. I will say in fairness to the community though, well, the Red Fox is under the tribe's jurisdiction, right? I mean, not that doesn't help us any. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they need to be reported, those things, right?
Well, I think this will be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, where the alcohol is being sold.
You guys have to see what I'm doing to help people is. Would you put somebody off the road? A lot of bootleggers, okay? A lot of drugs, a lot of techno. And that's why I was asking. The
Yeah.
program, how come they're not educated community more, it's not just during the day, it's gonna be.
Yeah. I mean, the frustrations you have, I can tell you that council shares too, right? I mean, these are inside community issues.
When we used to have companies, long time ago. Whenever anybody had a concern, we came to work.
Yeah. No, I know.
Question you, we call you on, we need to work together. as a community. But I
Yeah.
can see where Joe comes from. They're scared. Often mother-in-law this summer. Care that they give, the specialties that they give to people. I can apply that, but been hard
That's not true. You know, the level of service and how we're doing things is extremely important to council, and that's something that we're going to continue to push forward, you know, and the alcohol sales you can bring back to the group. We're not licensing these. I mean, it's not something, but you know, in all fairness, we have heard from community businesses, they want to sell it, right? And what we have told them that, you know, there's the law in place that's put in place for a reason. The community said they didn't want it. The community would say when they want. And so council will not be, you know, we don't have the ability, we're not going to have we're not going to be going down that road unless community says to.
You have another meeting and they ask you to bring that up.
Yeah.
They're willing to come.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yep.
Going things, I don't know anything about it. They need it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Emily, were you only for her or did you have something of your own?
No, I am. Nominated for me.
Okay.
You mentioned that you issue licenses to the pot shops. I don't know how many, but is the license renewable annually? And what does the license cost? And then after that, after they get their license, do they then turn over a percentage of their profits to council? So then how much money are we talking?
Mhm.
Like annually?
Yeah.
How much revenue is generated from the sale of pot?
Somebody want to answer that question?
So,
Not just a penny or anything.
no, in each district, Gawanoga has 4 licensed dispensaries. Dundee has 4, I believe,
Not 40?
and Snaihne has 3. Yeah, And then there was an MCR that was just recently passed because the regulation that was fixed, even legal, certain time to review the licensing, the licenses that were out there. And so we put an MCR that stated we would be issuing no more licenses. And that we would review it again 6 months. And so as far as the dispensary, their contribution in their licensing agreement, they do provide a social contribution back to Mohawk, MCA, not Mohawk. So it goes into MCA, into the general fund. And when they submit their application, it's $2,000 when they submit it, the application. And then after the licensing agreement, the monthly social contribution. In the beginning, there were the social contributions were ranged from some dispensaries of probably $400 to $600 to as high as about 4,000 in the beginning. But currently, the social contributions, because of the St. Regis Hoganburg side with all the dispensary, the business has really slowed down on the northern portion. Therefore, the social contributions aren't as much. As far as the total amount to date, that I'm not sure I have to get that.
So is the $2,000 license fee renewable annually or?
Not the
is it
2,000,
just one-
it was an application.
one application?
The yearly license every year, I'm not sure what that price is right now. But currently regarding the cannabis law, there are 3 consultations were done in all 3 districts. And we did, the working task group had met, and there was some questions that were sent in after the consultation, so that those answers are being provided. And then from there, you'll be preparing mailers out to the community for the final draft with the revision based on the community consult. And then the question will go out, community wants a referendum or I believe a special general meeting.
Council decides that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We decide that.
Okay, so
But
come.
it's a law, and then goes with that law and not the process.
Yes,
It is,
Yeah.
it is.
good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Paula, then we have Joan and Cheryl. We'll go to Philip.
I had, well, specifically for Abram, your J Treaty ALL professional services that went around and did
Yep.
community consultation. I know you were supposed to do a report
Yep.
in Parliament by what, March?
Yep.
Where are you at with that and what was the outcome?
So we provided an update at the last general meeting. I can share that with you just on what we've heard from the 3 sessions that we had in the community. We're still doing the engagements with other border communities on it. So we probably won't have like a draft likely until, February sometime. But we can bring that back.
Before it goes to Parliament?
Yeah.
And the other question I had is, what's the status of the finance committee according to the FAL, that financial administration law?
You mean the status?
Did you create a finance?
Yeah, there's a committee. Yes, there is. a
Who's the
committee.
community representation?
We don't have one yet.
But you don't have that according to the law.
No, no. Yes.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
Several.
And I haven't seen any postings lately.
What did I know? It was put out as till filled, yeah, open till filled.
Guess we need to have more.
Yeah.
Communication, I guess.
Yeah,
What
so.
do you think in absence of not having community representation, is the law effective? Are you,
No, the commit, there's a committee of council still functioning as, but there's no representation right now from the community on it.
so is that legal? According to the law.
Well, there's no penalty section in it. It tells you what a committee is needed to comply, so it's non-compliant right now.
No.
Yes, yes,
So you don't get penalized for being non-compliant.
not in this situation, no. Yeah, the government of Canada has spending authority limits in legislation that helps govern how they function around finances, and that's what the design of the financial administration law is. Yes,
So extraordinary expenses is like buying property like in your report, Campbell Road. The property.
I love those reports, eh? Very transparent.
No, not really.
No, it's not, well, we're having, well, there's
If
not,
it was very transparent, I wouldn't have to answer the question.
well, they're broadly distributed, so they are for,
Well, it would be nice to get it
distribution.
before the meeting.
well, we can talk about it every month.
Look like my
So
stuff is-
the Campbell Road, and there's not a lot of detail in some of these things because you can, as I just said, they're very broad, right? I mean, I'm not gonna give the community secrets out in my reports because, no, it's not a secret, but I'm not gonna put them in writing for everybody to see, right? I can't control who gets this, including the government of Canada, you know, the people that we work with. The Campbell Road is a property that was surplused by Ontario, which is north of Cornwall. That through consultation, they notified us whether or not we'd be interested in buying it. And so we entered into dialogue with them for it. Our main intention was for them to give it to us, right? It's about, I think it's 11 acres, or is it even that? If somebody remembers, 11 acres of land. It's in the middle of nowhere. If the Ontario government's either going to give it to us or give us a really good price on it, we may buy it, right? But it's like, they're likely not going down that.
For what purpose? Is it agricultural land or?
Well, I mean, I think that we could, yeah, it's not agriculture, it's a bush, it's in the bush, right? So I mean, ideally, this could be a place for traditional medicines to do some, you know, either harvesting there or perhaps part of the youth camp, you know, like, but if it's gonna cost us, you know, several $100,000, it's not gonna happen.
It goes to my next question. I know I've asked the chief at our district meeting several times about what your land allotment policy would be, and I've not gotten an answer as to how does an individual go about getting land from council.
Yeah, the land allotment policy itself is very old, so it's pretty much non-applicable anymore. The way somebody would get land from council is get a section 95 home, pay it off, and the land be given. That's really the only way somebody gets land from council right now. Now, the whole land allotment policy ties into some of what we talked about earlier on the land claims part, is that, you know, we buy all this land off community, it becomes community. What is that process to give it to, you know, individuals in the community? That's not been developed.
Is it in the process of being
No, it's not. No. Should be, but it's not.
developed? Why it's not?
It's not it's capacity, priority, things like that, right? Resources of people to do these things, consultations to have meetings like this to talk about land and allotment policy. It just hasn't hit the thing yet. It should, I mean, it is in the planning, but it's not there yet. Because that's also, there's a lot, when we talked about this earlier about the land claims, there's a lot packed in there, right? Buy land's the easy part. What are we gonna do after it? The land allotment policy, what services do you want there? The housing, the agriculture, you know, like if it's agriculture, who's gonna run it?
You know, I don't like with the land parcel of land, that was given to a community member.
Yep.
That there was funds available for them to build a house.
Yep.
To an agreement,
Mhm.
but there may also be people in the community who could do something similar.
Yeah.
But how do you go about doing it? You just send a letter to council and say, I have money to build a house, can I have some land?
We're running out of land,
Because
though, so,
we're-
yeah.
we don't have anything in place.
No, we don't. The only way to get land is just what I've described, was through the housing part.
Oh, okay, I know, I thought that was
Yeah.
a council agreement.
No. I mean, well, that case is a little bit different. Yes, that's a little bit different, but it's not, it's off reserve land too, though. Yes. Yeah.
So the other thing is, who are the youth representatives? Also, that I remember hearing an
Mhm.
NCR was passed,
Yeah.
was it 2-3 months ago or something?
Does anybody know who they are? Montana Adams is one of them. I think there's Tisha, yeah, it used to be. There's a few of them.
Youth council representative?
Yes.
We currently don't have any youth council representatives.
Oh,
They
no.
aged out.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. None
This is
then.
the Same situation as the finance committee call out. We've been posting it as an ongoing until open until fill. And I believe it's 2 positions per district, so there's 6 total.
So there's none, and not any members, not functioning.
And public safety portfolio. I know with a lot of the discussions that are being held this evening. I know in the Snaihne district meetings, we've asked about the public safety and the Akwesasne Mohawk police. Making presentation, I think, even just getting general information as to, what are they doing with the drugs, with the issue with the beer selling. What is Akwesasne Mohawk Police Service doing? I know you are arms away from policing, but I think you have a portfolio for public safety. So the report, I know we're looking at having the chair of the police commission and the chief of police. I don't know, soon, right, Wayne? I don't know if you can see me. The way
But we
they
can't hear you.
say, they were coming.
I thought the chair was there.
So your question is what? When are they coming to your district meeting?
No, when is?
Or what are
when
they
you
doing?
Get communication from the police about, people here at the general meeting are saying there's beer being sold in the 3 districts, in our communities. Do they do anything about it?
They provide a statistical.
Yeah. Well, the portfolio does meet with the public safety portfolio meets with the commission, and they're provided the reports from the chief of police and the deputy. Yes.
Okay, so we can see the report then.
Yeah, but I actually think they're in the Uncle as well, the statistic report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know about the newspaper. they might,
But they're in the
with
Uncle.
MCA newsletter that we sent out, we do include like the answers,
Yeah.
so you can see, they'll say like.
Yeah.
Calls for break-ins, call for arrests, call for locked cars, it's
Beer
bus,
bus,
yes.
like that.
There is stats, yes, what they've done. Yes. Anything else?
The cannabis law, which are, we don't have a law yet, but we have had regulations. How many inspections have been done at each of these licensed operations since you issue licenses? And who is the inspector?
Not an inspector, it's more of a compliance officer, and
Oh,
I do believe, put an actual number on it, I cannot, buyers, but I do know there have been.
There have been revocations. We've had at least 1 or 2 revocations. We have canceled licenses in the past.
They did call.
and the compliance people go in and they'll. Product, make sure
Well,
that,
they go in based on what the concern is, whether it be minor. that they-
no, I'm looking at quality of product. Do you see something in place for
No, not,
that type of inspection?
no.
No. Is it in the law?
The regulation.
No.
Oh, in the
Is
law?
there something in the law that says MCA will have inspectors to go in to ensure that products are safe and that. Must be a standard, right?
Yeah, there is. I don't know what the testing standard is, more of a compliance on, product control type thing.
I'll have to. I'm pretty sure it does talk about, there is a section it may talk about the testing aspect, but again, that's been a challenge. Testing. Because testing laboratory Canada are now and certified. And we have our own licensing framework in our adjustment that has yet to be tested by them. So if you send a product to our dispensary, chances are it won't get tested because we're not Health Canada like. We're not using federal license. We're exercising our own.
But in the exercise of our jurisdiction, we should ensure that we're having good quality products being sold to people.
We work closely with the suppliers. That's really kind of how we ensure that those products are there. And so we monitor between the supplier and the vendor at this point. There's no actual testing that we get from Health Canada on it. We rely on third parties and
Suppliers testing?
yes,
Who are your
yes.
suppliers?
Hmm?
Who are your suppliers?
They're all different based on the vendors, based on who the vendor requests as a process to vet them. There's probably about 4 of them or something like that. Okay, are you done? Move up.
What's your current status on our self-government negotiation? I have a concern about the land table. How far are we?
Somebody want to answer that?
Self-government right now is, we're currently more or less don't use the word structure, but we're in process of kind of trying a different way of communicating with Canada's federal negotiators. Because there's outstanding substantive matters that have not been pushed any further than they were over 4 years ago, and that's concerning. But Canada doesn't want to come back with the answers that we're seeking that best represents the collective of Akwesasne, then that's a problem. And so that's where we're at. And what, one of the substantive matters that has been a big challenge to get a response from Canada is tax exemption. That's one of them. And another one, voting. So just to identify those 2 issues, they're not easily get to a conclusion. It's not that easy for Canada. And tax exemption under the Indian Act of Pakistan has correlations with other laws in Canada. That's what makes it challenging right now. So we're in and strategizing our how we're going to address that. And so it's taking that's what's kind of been not moving as fast. But again, this is a document that should be considered to be in a hurry to get done. Because in all honesty, if these substantive matters cannot be dealt with and the response comes back to us, then it's up to us to address it in front of the community to say, where do we go?
Okay. We're gonna do a time check here at 8:20. I have 3 other speakers. I'm going to begin. We're going to go through the 3 speakers that we have, and then we're going to start moving towards the flow. So I have Cheryl, Joan, and then Philip.
Mine's very quick.
Yeah.
You talked about success. What successful evaluation mechanisms does council have in place so that we can gauge issues such as treatment center? What do we use to gauge the success organization as a whole?
Yeah.
You know, annual reports are submitted. They talk about statistics in those reports and things like that. But what's the actual mechanism we're using to engage when we evaluate things?
There's not a framework for that. There's not. It's unfortunate. It's part of a couple of years ago strategy for performance indicators of how we are doing, but also around how we deliver services. You know, clearly we can appreciate that COVID has derailed a lot of this and has created a lot more of challenges around service delivery. You know, I mean, mental health issues, like just the loaded box of things that are very challenging. But directly to answer your question, how do we? There's not an official framework to do it, but there needs to be. There really needs to be. For part of good governance, there needs to be.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome. Joan, we're going to go to you. No, okay. I've been earlier, so we'll go ahead, Philip, and then we'll go over to Brian.
Permanent Secretariat said a review of MCA nation buildings.
Say that again.
Under Government Secretariat, review of Annex A
Oh.
nations.
That's the Annex A of the political protocol.
Oh. Comment for the youth. Follow for. I was on it. There was no residency requirement. Being one of the districts, and that was the only way we were able to have somebody in at that time. So I was trying to reiterate again, council. If you're serious about representing the community, you need to really rethink restrictions about residency. Preference. Or religion entirely, because that is one of the reasons why the youth is still trying to get housing for this. So like, that's always going to be an issue for people that are, you know, not necessarily able to live in a district unless they're moving in with their parents or their grandma or their dad. But the reality here, so, you know, they take that into consideration of like, if you are serving the community at whole, part of the districts need to be like really toned down to the community and not just silo A, B, or C. For the Dundee monies, I know that we got the monies in originally way back January 2020 when it was and I know it wasn't the full 239, a little bit that was removed for take that to Canada. How much money did we gain or lose since living? Because I know the stock and everything did not go over very well with that city thing. So it's the accounting for living.
Yeah, I don't know it offhand, but definitely the last year has been in the negative for as far as, you know, making money. All the previous years have grown, right? Because we've done nothing with it. It just continues to generate money and go back in. We can provide that a dollar value at the next meeting. And I think that we'll provide what that last year of growth or negative growth have been.
They're sitting in short term. That's the small.
It's well, short term, no, it's probably like in a 3 or 4 year, which is long term by investment standards.
Still with these are
No, it's with CIBC. Yeah, and
any updates on the US bank?
we are still in mediation with the parties. We have been meeting with the plaintiffs, as I call them, which is the Mohawk Nation, Mohawk Tribe, and ourselves to work on an internal agreement. Based on our progress, the court has agreed for an extension for the use of a mediator. So I think we're getting there. I think that probably in the new year, there will be some draft agreement that we can bring back to the community.
And with Seaway, if we do Seaway in the near future, which is early in the year, 45 million, any ideas what that money would be used for?
Erosion. And not the rest. I don't know what the rest is.
You did a consultation with that or?
Yeah. Probably should roll into the community consultation. So we don't have chicken and egg again.
Well, part of it could be you also used for restoration to what was damaged before.
Yeah.
That's the design of it.
With our accounting, we know that certain services are covered by Canada and the Pension Fund and general funds. We know other services are covered by other things, whether it be pieces. We provide the community like which areas that we have need, but do not have regular fund for. So that way, that's consideration. So when we do have these settlements, which one of these should take? Because, you know, certain amount will always be from Canada for help. Canada is not going to necessarily fund part of this.
Yeah, no, I think the unfunded priority areas or existing unfunded areas is definitely a good exercise. Okay, thank you. Brian.
Might be able to say road someone. I brought this up on the district meeting. There were 9 potholes in Ronnie Jacobs. Oil in that, I over to the on. I drive through it all under my wheel. Told them before, take a sock, cut it 4 feet, Or conflict with diesel trucks. There's some in my garage. I'll go over your wheel, but it's not.
Yeah. Not working very well then.
Not mine.
So, no, I appreciate you sharing that with us.
And then the police, I don't bring my calendar in, I got past once coming this way, they must have been from the island. But twice going out of mine. Within the 3 weeks.
Mhm.
Then today I look back at the picture, one was in the snowstorm last year or 2 years ago. He's saying, so car here, I think I'm saying,
Yeah,
now they want to move to where, Cornwall Island?
Yeah.
Say you move to Cornwall Island, nobody's here. Hogan Spring Bridge is blocked right off, that goes up across it, how long they're gonna take them go back, he's not gonna get out of his car and run.
yeah,
They couldn't catch the guys like down in the river. Couldn't catch it.
yeah. No, definitely. The members of council have expressed to the police services that they definitely want to see more police cruisers in Snaihne and permanently, right? I don't, yeah, well, I don't think that moving the police are not hanging out at the police station, right? So I mean, it doesn't matter where station is, they need to be on the road, everywhere on the road.
Why is there a substation?
Yeah, well, they're storing equipment in there.
Back from. What?
They're storing equipment in there and seized vehicles, but yes, yeah. It's always an empty chair though. Yeah.
They're not always here.
So it's definitely something that we keep pushing on them to have more. Yeah. They come, yeah.
Just like you, talk show.
There should be a way to gauge the manpower of each district, and how long spending.
Yeah,
For accountability purposes, to what he's at.
yeah.
So they can report out each month that they spent
Hmm.
1,000 hours in each district for how many men on shift or women.
Yeah.
Then there's accountability back to the community,
Mhm.
and then why we're not seeing them, maybe they're hiding behind buildings.
Yeah.
For investigative purposes or whatever, intelligence gathering, who knows?
Mhm.
But make them more visible. That report showing, we see their patrol go by every half hour to an hour or something. In an 8-hour period, so the report shows, look, here's the
Yeah.
manpower hours that we had in each district. See, they do great and develop stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll,
Keep their little journey to where they are, which district they're moving from.
yeah, we'll look into it for sure. I mean, I think too, some of the newer vehicles perhaps are equipped with GPS, which then give, easily be able to say how long have they been in this area on generator report? I don't know that they are, but it's definitely if they are, then it should be able to do that. Okay,
When COVID started, you're a software where you can get back to the community. You put a line,
Mhm.
curfew, you put a line, burn. Then one of the questions you want to talk to was how many tickets the school time in the law averaging,
yeah.
how much a year? There's no answer.
Well, those reports go into the monthly report of how many, yeah.
How many citations?
Yeah.
200 or more?
yes.
They're children in the Indian time, not everybody knows how to get on those.
No, it's not, it's on the print that goes in everybody's mailbox. The news, oh, okay. We'll get you, yeah, no, I think that, and that was talked about earlier, why is it not? Yeah, well, we'll definitely look at, we can publish it in the Indian Times too.
Yeah, and tell Dwayne,
Yeah, I'll let them know.
I can't hear you. Specific meeting, I had 300, laying hands. 52 Rottweiler, every them away, that's, I got one left.
Oh, gee.
So tomorrow, they cut in the H in two now, 2, 4, 6, 8, but they said some families can't afford it.
Mhm.
You go to basic, you'll see them, they're all cut, some thick, some.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
So we have a dog block? I always do that.
yeah, well, that'll be next. All right, thank you very much for that. So just our next general meeting is going to be January 26th. We do have the food drive coming up. We have our list of action items that we will report back to you on at the next general meeting. I do need to read the resolution for the record. So to accept and approve the attached general meeting minutes dated October 27, 2022. Could I have a mover? Moved by Julie, second by April. Discussion on the resolution? Questions been called on resolution? All in favor? Any against? None against, it's carried. So. All right, thank you very much for joining us this evening at our November general meeting happening here December 1st, and I'll take a motion to adjourn. Edward and Sarah. So thank you very much for joining us this evening.